Let's talk about municipal politics. A former municipal advisor to Mayor Valerie Plante is lifting the veil on what went on behind the scenes at Projet Montreal. What was it like to watch Valerie Plante, who, if you recall, was a political unknown, climb to the top of Projet Montreal and become mayor? A new book looks at exactly that. Daniel Sanger's on the line, the author of Saving the City, The Challenge of Transforming a Modern Metropolis. It looks at Projet Montreal behind the scenes. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Elias.
First things first, Daniel, let's talk about the rise to power for Valerie Plante. From unknown to leader. You talk about that in great detail in your book. Tell our listeners.
Well, we were, I guess, in 2013, it was understood that election would be Richard Bergeron's last election for the party. And indeed, he came in third place, and he, quite promptly resigned after that. And Luc Ferrandez took over as interim leader. And a lot of people thought that he would replace him on a permanent basis, but Luc, to his credit, understood that, he was too polarizing. So Valerie had come in 2013 with needed a candidate in the Centre Sud, and we had a preference for women candidates because we wanted to be a sort of 50-50 party in that regard, and somebody mentioned her name, and so she was phoned up by the Director General of the party, and she jumped at the opportunity. And contrary to everybody's expectations, she actually managed to beat Louise Arel in the Centre Sud, the Château Fort of and then Valerie, I guess, she took that as evidence that she could, she could do anything in a way, that nobody was to tell her, that, oh, you're just a new councillor. So she ran for the leadership, and, she managed to get enough support.
And there was a lot of surprise internally in the party. Part of your book discusses how not many people believed she would be a good leader, let alone the mayor of Montreal. Just how surprising was it for the people inside the party?
Well, it was a very, very divisive leadership campaign, and in many respects, she won because she wasn't the other guy. There were a great many people within Projet Montréal who were very, very distrustful and apprehensive of Guillaume Lavoie, who was, the other candidate and had more than half of the caucus behind him. But it was the members who decided, but they decided against, the quote unquote leaders of the party, who were at that time I guess we had about 20 odd members of city council and a lot of the, and of course the borough councillors. Anyways, it was, Valerie won. She was very good at healing divisions after this, surprise. Nobody expected her to win outside the party either. And she was very good at healing divisions. And then again, she, surprised everybody. She's, if there's one constant in Valerie's career, it's her capacity to surprise.
Well, absolutely. There's no denying that. We're with Daniel Sanger. He's a former journalist and former political advisor for elected officials at Projet Montréal. He did that for 9 years, beginning in 2010. His latest book takes a look at the internal workings of the party throughout Valerie Plante's rise. Saving the City, The Challenge of Transforming a Modern Metropolis is the English title for the book. So, Daniel, let's talk about the tensions. You don't get to the top. You don't become mayor of a political party and stay there without conflict and tension. What stuck out in your mind that ended up in this book?
Well, that's running a party like Projet Montréal is not easy. A grassroots party where there's a real tradition of debate and discussion. People expect this to continue right, after you've been elected, and it's not always that easy because there are a lot of constraints. And people like Luc Ferrandez really expected Valerie to basically to be a leader like he was on the plateau, where it was very much we said we're going to do this, buckle your seatbelts, we're going to do it. And,
they don't like each other, us, Daniel. Those two don't. That's the understatement of the year when I say they don't like each other.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I think they might be they might have an incompatibility at working together and different approaches. And that was always a very a real tension within Projet Montréal. How much do we compromise in order to get power and remain in power? And Luc was a sort of experimental politician in that regard, and it worked on the plateau very well, but wouldn't necessarily work citywide.
Did she force him out when Ferrandes left politics?
No. He left very much on his own accord. He opposed certain tendencies and decisions. Obviously, the whole Camille Hood thing was a big problem for him. He wanted that closed. He wanted it transformed into just a one way up the mountain or whatever, where you could go to the top, but you had to come back the same way.
Yeah.
And there were the baseball and stuff like that.
Daniel, while I have you with us here, I want to talk about one of the things in this election that's coming up, and one of the talking points that Valerie Plante uses quite a bit when she's talking about her competitor Denis Coderre, right, is that he hasn't changed. He's still the old school politician with the grudges and the attitude and that kind of stuff. And I just want to know, when you're mayor of Montreal, when you're a politician for this long, you got to sort of be heavy-handed at times. So when you see Valerie Plante knock Denis Coderre for the way that, his tendencies, is there anything you look at for Valerie Plante and say, well, geez, she's got a side of her too, where she's got to sort of say it's my way or the highway?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting because there are some people, like some very experienced councillors, who said to me that they expected Valerie to be very good for the party, but not such a good mayor. And that what they've discovered is, it's just the opposite. She's a good mayor, and I think she has been a good mayor. But within the party, it's been difficult because certain people of long standing have been alienated, they have left the party, and the caucus has felt that it's not, its opinion isn't solicited enough. It's not taken into consideration that all the decisions are being made in Valerie's office. So, would
you describe that there are factions within the party, and if so, what are the factions within Projet Montréal?
Honestly, I don't think there are that many factions. It used to be very much the plateau versus the rest of the party, in the same way that the PQ was riven by, Montréal Centre against the rest of the party. But right now, there's, there are those who still are very much of the let's do things quicker, and those who are, steady as she goes. We can't. We have to think about not, maintaining our presence or even enlarging our presence in boroughs which are not traditionally Projet Montréal boroughs, whether it be Rivière-des-Prairies, Pointe-aux-Trembles, whether it be, even trying to get into Saint-Laurent, La Salle, and these kind of parties where we've historically been shut out. I do use the word we, don't I?
Hey, 9 years on a team, I understand.
Je m'affiche. But, what I wanted to do was write I guess I'm first and foremost a journalist, and I, wanted to write a book that would still be read in 30 years, that would stand up, that would be, where I would show my colors, but also at the same time be critical of the party. Anyways,
Well, Daniel, listen, I just want to say, it's certainly you are good at writing. So I want to point that out on the two versions of the book, because there's a French version, Sauver la ville, Projet Montréal et le défi de transformer une métropole moderne, and you've also got the English version of the book, Saving the City, the challenge of transforming a modern metropolis. Thanks for taking the time with us this morning, Daniel. Really, really interesting look under the veil of municipal politics.
My pleasure.